let us do some practicing, because practicing keeps us safe and it gives us a great feel for our motorcycle. On top of that, even most people say don't ride your bike when you are a little upset or something's going on in life. To me, it shouldn't even matter, because that's just the way life works. It's up and down constantly. It's not a matter of, oh no, I'll probably wreck because I'm not in a condition to drive. But you know, you can use it as a form of thinking and still being able to process what you're doing on the bike. And that's kind of how I feel about it. But I think if we practice, it's only going to make us a better rider. So let's do some practice and go from there. So I'm just going to go up and go down this and do the one parking spot U-turn into them. It's kind of a fun thing to do. So let's do that. You gotta turn your head really deep, kind of unnaturally, but not really. I mean, so that you're in there. You see how it's going real smooth. You really got to pay attention to that, because that's integral, is getting that head turned. And quickly, they say, but you know, the quick portion of it is what you work on. So you want to be able to look to the other point to where your bike will actually turn, and it'll go there. Believe it or not, it'll go there. And it does it, just like I'm doing it right here. It goes where I look, and then you find a point that's going to get you to where you want to be. But once you get really good at this, I'm not kidding you, I mean, everything else is like really simple. And I know this is probably not a very hard exercise for people, depending on how long you've been riding and how much you practice, but it can be very difficult. But this is if you don't have cones or you don't have any cut tennis balls. I keep cut tennis balls in my bike, so I actually have some. But I like to use the spaces also, because they're 8 foot. And basically what you're doing is you're doing a very tight U-turn. Then you go all the way up, so you get both levels, so that you can start off on the one. And I just go in first gear, and I think I'm staying like below 10 miles an hour. I know I've heard people say you got to be going real fast so your bike will lean, and I don't think I go over 8, probably. I mean, I can see my speedometer right there. I'm at 5. It seems if I go a little quicker, I gotta turn. Yeah. But I'm staying pretty slow. Pretty slow, but fast enough. And it's, like I said, I mean, one of the things I learned from taking Yamaha Champion Riding School is RPM equals radius. And does that apply at slow speeds? Of course it does. So if I start opening up and going faster, it's going to make my bike want to, and I don't need to scrape the pegs. I get people do scrape the pegs. But RPMs equals radius, so when RPM equals radius, you got to consider if I'm going out and I give it more throttle or whatnot, or release my clutch more to get up to, say, 11 miles an hour, then my radius is going to open up no matter what, unless I utilize my rear brake. But at that point, why would I be giving it more throttle or more juice to the back tire? I really wouldn't. I wouldn't want to do that. I want to keep it at a nice steady pace. And I'm not using throttle, I'm using my clutch. So the idle speed of the bike, I'm using that. And as I use the idle speed of the bike, that's how I regulate it. If I give it too much, I can pull in a little and then use my rear brake a little to tighten my radius. So I found that very helpful in my practicing. RPMs equals radius. So I'm going to do more practice, but in the meantime, that's very integral to remember that the more speed you give your bike, the more lean you're going to have to give, but your radius is also going to open. So you got to consider that in application. And whether that, some guys do it faster and do tight U-turns like that, I mean, I would ultimately say I've never done that on any of my bikes. Like when I was riding my R1 and I was doing these one space, that was not what I did. I actually kept that RPM down so that I could actually go in the miles per hour and keep my radius tight so that I could lean the bike. But on the R1, I really had to lean it and counter lean with my other foot. And that's kind of the difference between semi-naked or a naked or even a cruiser and a sport bike, because of the clip-ons being down here and you don't have much by way of the tank. Anyway, stay vigilant, keep practicing.